Al-Dareyn Modern School hoyga aqoonta.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. ومركلي عشرانتيني أونلاين كهيد ساينسكي معلمكيني عبد القادر. مركها مانتا إن شاء الله وحن رجيني أن نوكاه الله iron. Okay, so if we, for example, do a little recap on previous lessons, عشرانتيني هراء وحن نكسر هذا اللي محاهده for example electron arrangement. Okay, so وحن نكسر شيء electron arrangement. شرانتيني هراء أينو كسر شكلنا مركز سيدا electrons كا لوجو arrange كرايو in shells. Okay, so عشر كي هراء مركز إحنا كسر على electrons كا سيدا لوجو سميه arranging أما لوجو كرم هذا the shells of an atom and electrons كسينو جينا أما shells كو for example وحنسوي استعمال الفورمولا دي هاي 2 8 8. Okay, so meaning the first shell أما شركة كوباد وحقلي this is the first shell وحقلي first shell 2 electrons. Second shell أما شركة لبعض وحقلي 8 electrons and the last shell 8 electrons بحقلي. That means and the first shell can only host or hold only 2 electrons, not more than 2 electrons. Okay, but less than it can have 1 electron. The second electron second shell it can occupy only 8 electrons, not 9 or 10 atomic كرامك. بقى ما أنت بروح نقدرنا chemical reactions ده مركز عن iron وحلا يلاحظوا أما محيطها iron. Okay, so in this lesson we will learn the different what happens when atom is lose or gain electrons. Okay, and also we will define what is an ion. When do we basically say this atom is an ion? Okay, so we will inshallah go through this slides. So in the slides inshallah we will see what ion means and how atoms become ion, and also what do we mean by saying ion. So electrons have a negative charge. Okay, so electrons waxay leeyihiin negative charge, where protons have positive charge. So in other words, for example, when we talk in this lesson, inshallah, you see the protons and the neutrons, they are in the nucleus. Okay, so neutrons iyo protons labadu waxay ku jiraan marka nucleus around the nucleus waxa ku wareegsan marka waa shells ama orbitals. So electrons marka waxa laga helaya around the nucleus. Okay, so electrons have a negative charge, whereas protons have a positive charge. So electrons waxay leeyihiin charge negative minus, protons waxay leeyihiin positive charge. In a neutral atom, okay, in a neutral atom means an atom which does not lose nor gain electrons. Okay, so atom markaanu electron lose gareyn electron aanu gain gareyn baran karna waxa weeyaan maxay haday neutral. Sida kale hadayna eegno waxaan oranaynaa when the number of protons is equal to the number of protons. Okay, when the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons. In this way we can say this atom is a neutral atom. Neutral meaning it has no charge. It has neither positive, it's not neither positive nor negative. So it is a zero charge. Okay, which results no overall charge. There is no zero charge. So the net charge of this atom is zero charge. Okay, so how are we going to calculate or find the net charge of an atom? Simply we can do, okay, so we can use this formula. For example, we can say protons, the number of protons of an atom, we will subtract the number of electrons. Okay, so we will subtract the number of electrons of an atom from the number of protons in that atom. Okay, so markaan doonayno inaan soo saarno net charge-ka, okay, markaan doonayno inaan soo saarno net charge ama net charge of that element or an atom. Net charge-ka markaan doonayno inaan soo saarno aan ogaano whether this atom is neutral, negative or positive, we can use this formula. Okay, we can calculate by using this formula subtraction of protons and electrons of that atom. Atom ka protons ka tiradiisa aynu waxa ka jirnaa marka the number of electrons. So for example, let's say haddaan isticmaalo for example an atom, okay, so if we use an atom, for example, it has 10 protons and 10 electrons. By using this formula, we can calculate the net charge of that element, of that atom. So simply we can substitute. So for example, 10 minus 10. Okay, so they cancel each other out. So it's equal to 0. So that means that atom has 0 charge. So in this case, we can say it is a neutral atom. Goormeen odhanna markaa neutral weeyaan atomku, waxaan odhanaa markaa net charge-kiisu uu la mid yahay markaa 0, okay, ama aanu haba yaraatee wax charge lahayn. Sababtuna waxa weeyaan, for example, waxaan ku soo saari karnaa formuladan inagoo net charge-ka protonska uu leeyahay elementkaasi ayaan waxaan ka jaranaa markaa number of electronska uu atomkaasi leeyahay. So for example, tusaalahan haddii aynu proton ama atom isniraahno soo saara net charge-kiisa, protonskiisu ay yihiin 10 proton, electronadiisuna ay yihiin 10, haddaynu markaa labadan kala jarno for example waxay noo soo baxay markaa waa 0. So this atom is neutral. Because the negative charge of elements and the positive charge of electrons, okay, the negative charge of electrons and positive charge of protons are equal and cancel each other. Okay, so protoniska, for example, let's say protoniska charge-kii protoniska iyo charge-kii maxay ahayd electroniska markay isku mid ka yihiin way is cancel garanayaan markaas way isleeyihiin. Okay, so for example haddii 10 ka jarno it is a 0 charge. Okay, haddii laakiin ay kala duwanaato for example, okay, let's say for example halkan haddaan ka dhigno for example 11, okay, let's say 11 electrons and 10 protons. If we try to find the net charge of this, let's use the same formula. So we could say the formula is protons minus electrons. So we could say, for example, 10 minus 11. Okay, so this is here a positive because it is a number of protons. So when you, for example, subtract from these two numbers, it is minus 1. Okay. So that atom has net charge of minus 1. It is negatively charged atom. Atom ka markaynu ama element ka doonayno soo saarno net charge-kiisu markaa wuxuu leeyahay ama wuxuu leegaaday markaa maxay minus 1. Okay, minus 1 buu markaa leegaaday ama uu la mid yahay. So this formula helps us to calculate the net charge of any atom. Sometimes atoms lose or gain electrons, which results difference in the number of protons and electrons in the atom or in that atom. Okay, in that particular atom. So sometimes atoms lose or gain electrons. So for example, in chemical reaction, atoms might gain or lose electrons. So some atoms they lose electrons, some atoms they gain electrons. Okay. And we will see the reason why in the next slides. Okay. markuu chemical reaction u dhacayo atomska qaarkood waxay markaa lose gareeyaan ama ay lumiyaan ama donate oo bixiyaan hal electron, kuwa kalena waxay soo qaataan markaa 1 electron ay soo gain gareeyaan ama ay accept gareeyaan. Okay, so taasi markaa waxay keenaysaa for example in kala bataan number of protons and number of electrons. See, the same atom which has 10 protons, 10 electrons and net charge of 0. Okay, if for example this atom reacts with an atom, let's say for example it loses electron. If it loses electron, for example, -1, so the number of electrons will become then 9 electrons in this case. Okay, so this atom, it reacts with another atom so that it loses 1 electron. If it lost 1 electron, how many electrons are remaining? For example, let's say 10 minus 1 is 9 electrons. So let us use the same formula and see the result. So let's say 10 minus 9, okay, equal to plus 1. Here it's always positive because the number of protons plus 1. Okay, in this case you can see the balance of electrons and protons has been changed due to that reaction or that chemical reaction. Okay, so the number of protons are more than the number of electrons in the atom. In this case, it results the atom to be charged, whether it's positive or negative. It depends which electron is, whether it loses electron or proton. So marka hadii atomki aan marka hore sheegnay zero charge ka ahaa, haduu chemical reaction uu ka qayb galo, ka soo qaadano marka hal electron uu lumiyay, halka electron uu lumiyay marka laga jaro 10 electron waa 9 electron. Protoniskina waa the same. Marka waxa kala batay marka the number of protons and number of electrons in that particular atom. Taalifteeda marka taas waxa oranayna waxa keenaysaa in maxay atomki marka uu charge garoobo ama positive charge noqdo ama positively charged particle ama element noqdo ama negatively charged particle. So sentence marka intaas uu sheegaya, if atom loses or gains electron, the number of protons, number of electrons or number of protons will change in that atom. Whether the number of protons will become more than number of electrons, or the number of, if it gains, for example, electrons, the number of electrons in that atom will be more than the number of protons in that atom. Okay. On the other hand, if it loses electron, for example, if that atom loses electron, the number of protons will exceed the number of electrons in that atom. Okay. So that is what it means. Intaasi markaa uga jeegna haddii uu atomku electron lose gareeyo, number of protons waxay ka badanayaan number of electrons ka atomka ku jira. Dhinaca kale haddii atomkaasi uu electrons accept gareeyo ama gain gareeyo, number of electrons waxay ka badanayaan number of protons, and this will affect the net charge of the atom. Okay. So we will see the next slide. Okay, slide kale ku xiga iyo marka eegina. Okay, so when an atom loses or gains an electron, it becomes an ion. Okay, whenever an atom loses or gains an electron, it becomes an ion. So ion markasta oo electron atomkaas electron lose gareeyo ama electron soo gain gareeyo oo helo wuxuu noqonayaa marka ion. Okay, so for example, let's say halkan waxaad ku haysataa for example calcium. Let's say, okay, so this is for example, and for example here you have another element. Okay, so in the nucleus we have the number of protons. So let's say it is 10. Okay, and here we have the electrons. So let's say we have let's say we have 5 electrons. Okay, and here we have 10 protons. Okay, and here we have let's say 4 electrons. Okay, 4 electrons. So when these two atoms react with each other, let's say for example this atom loses its electron on outer shell. So it transfers or it loses this electron. Okay. It donates, in other words, it donates this electron to this atom. Okay. So now here you can see this atom has 5 electrons. But this here, it has only 4 electrons because it has already lost one of its electrons in its outer shell. Shell can electrons ku jiro shanta ha mid kamid ay lose karaysa markaas. Okay, to the next element. Ama element kala sameynaysa reaction. Here we have only, okay, so this atom, for example, now it has only 4 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this one, it gains electron. It accepts electron from the next element, so it has 5 electrons in its outer shell. So in this case, this disrupts, this becomes iron. Okay, so for example, it has, let's say for example, 10 protons and 4 electrons. So when we subtract these two numbers, we will have plus 6. Okay, we have plus 6. So this time it becomes iron. Here it is an iron. Because it accepts, this one becomes positively charged, this one becomes negatively charged ion. Okay. So if it gains an electron, it becomes a negative ion. For example, if it gains electron, it becomes negative, because the reason is the number of protons, the number of electrons in that atom will be more than the number of protons in that atom. So there is a slightly difference. Marka waxa keenay in positive noqoto markii gain gareysa electrons, waxa yeelay electron badan ba ku soo beeray. Marka wuxuu ka badan yahay the number of protons ku jiray in the nucleus. On the other hand, if it loses an electron, it becomes a positive ion. Okay. So if it loses, for example, if it loses electron, it becomes positively charged element or particle. And the reason is because let's say this atom has the same thing. Okay, it is a neutral state. It has, let's say for example, 5. It has 5 protons and 5 electrons. Okay, another atom, it has 6 protons and 6 electrons. These two atoms, they react with one another or with each other. If, for example, let's say this is element X and this is element Y. We name this one X and this one Y. So to see whether it's positively charged or negatively charged, it depends whether it loses electron or gains electron. So for example, this atom, it donates 1 electron, it loses 1 electron, it loses 1 electron to this atom. Okay, so this one it gains or it accepts, this one accepts 1 electron from this atom. Okay, so this one, this Y, element Y accepts this 1 electron from element X, while element X loses 1 electron to element Y. So let's calculate using the same formula. Okay, for example, here electrons, the number of electrons had changed because it lost 1. So it has 5 minus 4. Why 4? Okay, why do we say 4? Why do we put here 4? Because it already lost 1 electron to element Y. So that's why we say 4. Okay, so subtracted these two numbers, you have plus 1. Okay. It has plus 1. So that's why we said if it loses an electron, it becomes a positive ion. imaka markaan leenahay hadii ay lose garayso electron waxay noqonaysaa positive weeyaan. tusaale ahaan electronka markay lumisay 4 electron ba ku soo haray hadaynu kala jarno 5 aynu ka jarno 4 waa +1 then positive ay noqotay. And the only reason is sababta ugu weyn waxa weeyaan numberkii protonada wuxuu ka badan yahay numberkii electronada. tan kale let us calculate this one for example. So this one, it is number of protons are the same, 6. Okay, so this one it accepted 1 electron from X. In that scenario we say 6 plus 1, it's a 7 electrons, so it has now 7 electrons since it accepted or received 1 electron from X or element X. So let's say -7. Okay, -7. Then subtract 7 minus 6 plus 6, then we have -1. Okay. So now this one, it accepts 1 electron, it became negatively charged element. This one, it lost 1 electron and it became positively charged element. So that's what it means. Whenever it loses electron, it becomes positively charged ion. Whenever it gains electron, it becomes negatively charged. And the reason is because whenever it loses electron, the number of protons in that atom will exceed or will become much more than the number of electrons in that atom. On the vice versa. On the other hand, the same is true. Okay. Okay, marka intaas labadaas inoo sheegayaan. We will see some diagrams. Okay, so this diagram illustrates this, a neutral atom. So for example, this is a neutral atom. This is neutral atom. Okay, so for example, it has 9 protons and 9 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So when you subtract these two numbers, the net charge of this element is 0. 9 minus 9 is equal to 0. So we say this atom is neutral. It has no charge because it hasn't lost any electron and it hasn't also accepted an electron. So that's why it has 0 net charge. Madamo atom can wax reaction sameynin, wax chemical reaction mu dhicin. Then electrons na mu gain gareyn, electrons na mu lose gareyn. In that case waxa oran marka waa neutral atom. Let's see the other one where the situation is quite different. Okay, so the same element, fluorine. Now it gained 1 electron from an atom, a donor. Okay. So it has the number of electrons has to be changed. Okay. From 9 to 10. Now it has 9. Now it has 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Because it accepted, and the reason is because fluorine accepted one electron okay, hal electron be markaas soo accept garaysa maxay heeday fluorine. So for example, if here the protons are the same, so 9 minus 10 minus 1. Okay, wow, minus 1 markaas charge ka markaa uu isbedelay due to gaining of electron from another element. Okay, so the same is also true. Halkana waa noocyo kale. Okay, the sodium. So sodium, for example, in this stage it is neutral. Oh, sorry. In this stage it is neutral because it has the same number of protons and electrons. but here things are quite different. Okay, and the reason is because sodium lost one electron. Okay, so now if you can see fluorine, we said it accepted one electron, but here sodium it lost one electron. Okay, so it lost one electron. It lost one electron. So whenever it loses electron, it becomes positively charged, and the reason is because the number of protons and electrons in that atom will be different, will change. Okay. So for example, 11 minus 10 plus 1. Okay. Okay. Lastly, this is also sodium. Okay. So for example, the same formula I'm isticmaalinay the number of electrons. Okay. So maanta marka waxaan ka soo sheekeynay iron. Okay. Ama 10keenu wuxuu ahaa marka maxay ahayd so 10keenu marka maanta waxaan ka soo hadlay maxay ahayd qorma ayuu ama wuxuu yahay iron. Okay, so for example waxaan nidhi iron waxa weeyaan when the atom loses or gains electron. Okay, sidoo kale waxaan ka soo hadalnay in this lesson, for example, how to calculate the net charge, okay, of the element, any element. Okay, sida net charge kan u soo saari karno. Okay, sidoo kale waxaan soo sheegnay why atoms ay u noqonayaan sometimes positive, sometimes u noqonayaan maxay ahayd negative. Okay, so waxaan soo sheegnay marka haddii atomku lose gareeyo electron wuxuu noqonayaa maxay ahayd positively charged, hadduu gain gareeyo electron wuxuu noqonayaa maxay ahayd negatively charged. So casharkeenu marka intaasoon kusoo gabagabeynayaa waxaa xasuusnaataan casharaantu saa isku xigaan bay isku caawinayaan. haddaad marka casharaantii hore shellski for example ama shell electron arrangement haddaad si fiican u fahansantiin, I hope this also will be very easier for you to understand. Okay, so intaynu cashar dambe markaas ugu imanayno intaasaan kusoo gabagabeynaya casharkeennii. Assalaamu calaykum waraxmatullaahi wabarakaatuh.